Hi friends, I'm Abby and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about my 10 most disappointing or worst books of 2020. So I feel as though 2020 has been a year of like extreme highs and extreme lows, both like in life and in my reading. So I had some really great books, but the books that I didn't like, I really didn't like. And some of these in this list I wouldn't necessarily say are like really bad books. They just disappointed me and I was expecting so much more from them that I wanted to love them and I wasn't able to because I was just so sad and upset and so disappointed. And if these are any of your favourite books, then that's great. I understand that so many of these are actually great books, they just didn't work for me. So to start us off, there isn't really an order to this, but the Wayward Children series by Seanan McGuire. So I read this year Down Among the Sticks and Bones. Last year I read the first book in that series and it was fine, so I thought I'll try the second one. And the series just, it's not for me. I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's that they're in novella format, maybe it's that I listened to it on audiobook. I really struggled with this novella and I was like speeding up the audiobook because I was like, is it going to get interesting? Is anything going to happen? I thought it was going to be some like dark fairy tale and I don't know, it didn't do anything for me. So I don't think I'll be continuing with that series by Seanan McGuire. It just seems very overrated to me. I would like to give Seanan McGuire another go. I might try out Middlegame, but not that series. Then My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. What even was that book? I'm sorry. Like, I get that this book's really popular, but there was no plot. It went nowhere. It literally went nowhere. There I was expecting something to happen at the end, and I was like, it just ended. And I was very disappointed in quite a few thrillers that I read this year. And I don't know if it was me and not liking thrillers for some reason, or if I was just like, is that it? I wanted a twist. I wanted more. I wanted these characters. I wanted something thrilling. And My Lovely Wife was not thrilling. I don't even know about describing the book, but you're following like a nameless character and his wife and him go about murdering people. And that's it. And there is no twist. Speaking of thrillers, I'll just get them all out of the way. I was disappointed in The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. Everyone seems to love Ruth Ware. This is the only book that I've read by her. Again, I was disappointed. There was a twist, but I was disappointed in it. I was like, oh, okay, fine, great. It was like a twist on the final page, which it was. I think it will work for some people and it will work, but it won't work for others. And for me, it just didn't work. I was like, is that really the way you're going with it? And I just wanted to be creeped out a bit more, maybe. I quite enjoyed the house setting. It's a very old house with modern touches and you've got this nanny going in to look after these children. And I quite enjoyed that, but I wanted it to be creepier. Like, I just wanted a bit more. And the final thriller, Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. Again, no twist. What is it with these thrillers that have no twist? Is this a thing in 2020 that thrillers don't have twists and that it just ends without any like change in plot or tone? I don't know, like it read very quickly. And I know it works for a lot of people. Like, I know Jessie May and Alan from the Library of Alexandria have both really enjoyed this, but I just did not get the hype for it. Like, it was just flat all the way through. Like, you knew something was wrong all the way through. Like, there wasn't some moment where things went from perfect to, oh wow, something horrible is happening here. It was just horrible all the way through. And there was no, like, twist. I don't know. So, those are the 3 thrillers that really disappointed me this year and has made me like go on a big hiatus from thrillers because now I'm like, I don't know if they're for me. Like, is it me? Is it the thrillers that I picked up? Like, I tried to pick up ones that seemed to be universally acclaimed and it didn't go very well. Okay, so back to other genres. I wasn't a massive fan of Love Her or Lose Her by Tessa Bailey. So this is like a romance book that I read. Well, I listened to the audiobook for this. I quite enjoy like a nice romance book every now and again that's just very fun, quick and easy that you can intersperse in between fantasy books, but this one was not it. The male love interest was just, I can't remember what his nickname was for the female character, but it was just really grating. I was like, she has a name and you can call her that. You don't have to call her this stupid nickname all the time. And he was just so, ugh. I was like, I wanted the main character. So in this book it's following like a couple that are having marriage issues and they're going to break up, and then he's trying to win her back. And I was like, you don't want to go back to him. He's a horrible person. Like, just ditch him. Yeah, I just wasn't a massive fan of it. I also really disappointingly wasn't a massive fan of The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. I loved the Earthsea books growing up. Like, I loved them so much. And so I thought, well, I should be fine going into other Le Guin books. And I hadn't read one for many years. So I thought I'd go for The Left Hand of Darkness as I already owned it. The Left Hand of Darkness is like it's a sci-fi, so it's set on an alternative world, but it doesn't really read very much like a sci-fi. It reads a bit like a fantasy. And I think it was very forward thinking for the time that it was published in. Like, the explorations of gender and how people are able to go between being male and female, and how they relate to each different gender, and how we view that as a society. And so I think there were some great themes that were explored within the book, but it got too bogged down by those themes that there was a plot that went through the book. And for some of the book I was really enjoying it when we were in this plot, but then they'd go off on so many tangents on either these themes and these sort of explanations and explorations of these grand ideas, or into description, and so you'd get completely lost and you'd lose the plot because of all these elements. And so I just wanted the plot. I wanted the movement of this plot, because the plot was really interesting. It just got bogged down, and it makes me so sad because I now am really conflicted about going back and rereading the Earthsea series, because I don't know if I'm going to have the same love for it. I was really disappointed in it. The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison. So I read this for my blind date with a book. It was one of the first vlog that I ever did, and it was a really great experiment. It was really great going into a bookshop and picking up a book that I'd never heard of and just reading the blurb and going in completely blind. Unfortunately, the book wasn't for me. Unfortunately, I didn't love the book that I picked. I really liked the cover and I liked the description, but I wasn't a massive fan of the insides of the book. And this seems to be an unpopular opinion. I thought after reading the book that my opinions would be in line with the rest of the population, but when I looked at Goodreads after having read the book, it turns out that I was in the minority. And the reason this book didn't work for me is that you're following this main character, Maya, and you're literally in his head, and just his head, and you don't really get any exploration of any of the secondary characters. They're all just surface, and everyone and everything has a really weird name. It has this 10-page glossary that goes on and on and on. I think because I couldn't remember anyone's name because of their seriously long, ridiculous names, I couldn't get to grips with any of the secondary characters, which meant that none of them had any personality to me. And it's a very insular story that you're following this Goblin Emperor with the politic in this court. And I thought I liked court politics, but there was too much court politics. Like, the whole book is just court politics. Like, you don't really get any exploration of the world. You're just in this court, and it's very like a slice of life in the court. And I just wanted a bit more of an exploration of the world and understanding what was going on outside of this one person. And it seemed as though there was meant to be like a wider issue or a wider situation going on, but it just never came to anything, and everyone would have sort of glossed over it and forgot about it. But it seems to be really, really popular according to Goodreads, and it was me that was in a bubble, but I found it a very great experiment, so I will link the vlog. And we're really getting into the big disappointments now. Now, I don't think these are bad books. I really don't. But these books did not work for me, and I think I'm very passionate about in my disappointment for these books. So I don't mean to offend anyone and their love for them. So the first one of these is Rage of Dragons. I read this as a shelf space buddy read, and it was very, very divisive book in the community, and I can really appreciate why Evan Winters wrote the book and can understand like how he's wanting to write this book for his son and giving him black representation in literature. But it really didn't work for me. Like, I really enjoyed the prologue. I loved that, and then we met Tao, the main character, and it just all went downhill. There's a moment at the beginning of the book which is like a climactic moment that is the catalyst for the rest of the story, and Tao's revenge. And the whole book, Tao is I guess he's a two-dimensional character, but his main focus is revenge. He is like revenge, revenge, revenge. And if he's not thinking about revenge, he's thinking about lust for his girlfriend Zuri. And Zuri is like the one female character in the book, and she has no personality. She is in the book purely as a tool to deliver the world building and for Tao's lust. Where were all the female characters? I wanted a strong female character, or just any female character that wasn't a tool for the progression of the main character. The other thing is that the loopholes that are in it, and how because Tao wants it more than everyone else, he can just do whatever because he wants it more. And I'm like, no, just because you want something doesn't mean it makes you the best fighter in the world. Like, no, it's called Rage of Dragons. So there's me thinking, there's going to be dragons in this because it's called Rage of Dragons, and there's literally no dragons in it. There I was waiting the whole book for a dragon to turn up, and there wasn't any dragons. Well, not until right at the end. And I was like, if your title of your book has dragons in it, I expect dragons. As it all went down and downhill, and everyone kept saying, oh well, the end really picks it up, like the end's so good. By the time I got to the end, I was like, so what? I just don't care. I just want this book to be over. Ugh. I'm very sorry if that's your favourite book. I know how much it is loved, but it really did not work for me. And another one like similarly to that is Leviathan Wakes, and this also really did not work for me. And this is a sci-fi story written by James S.A. Corey, which is a author duo. I think if I'd watched the TV show then read the book, that might have helped, because a lot of people have said that they loved the book after watching the TV show. So maybe the TV show really helped with the enjoyment of it. But I seriously struggled to imagine the world. I could not picture it at all. And like, I got up a map of the solar system to help me try and picture all these places, and I just couldn't. And I don't know, I think there's a lot of description on like how the gravity worked, and I was very happy with that, but there wasn't a lot of description on the planets or the solar system and the way it all fit together, and the character descriptions. I found that those were all lacking, so I just could not imagine anyone or anything. There were two protagonists. One of them was just extremely dull. I just wanted him to die because he was so boring, and that was the police officer. And then the other plot was much more interesting. There was much more going on, but all of the secondary characters in that plot were just flat. I just didn't care for any of them because I couldn't picture any of them. And then they tried to put a romance in, and I was like, I enjoy a romantic subplot, but it was just so forced. I was like, no, don't do it. Those were all really annoying aspects to me. Yeah, I think I will give the TV show a go, but I cannot continue with this world that I cannot imagine. I cannot get to like see the characters, and just I have no connection to any of them. And like, even people were saying get to this like 200-page mark and there will be this big thing and it will like completely change the tangent of the story. And I got to the 200-page mark and I was like, fine, except it was more like a 300-page mark, so I was like, well, I'm over halfway through now, so I might as well finish the book. And then I was like plodded through, and those last 90 pages went on for like so long. I was like, is this book ever going to end? Again, I know that I'm in the minority. And then my final latest disappointment, and I really do not think this is a bad book. I can see that it's got some positives, but I was so disappointed in The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. And this is because I loved The Poppy War. I loved The Poppy War. That book I devoured and absolutely thoroughly enjoyed, and I really enjoyed The Dragon Republic. And then it got to The Poppy War and I was like, is this it? And I just found, I mean, it's hard to talk about because it's the third book in a series, but I found like the first 200 pages I was pretty happy with. I was really in with the story in the beginning, loved it. The next 200 pages, nothing happened. I was like, well, what is going on here? There is also a climactic moment in those 200 pages which just happens and then it's done. And I would have liked if this moment had progressed a lot longer and had been a much more of a bigger thing, instead of within a chapter it's all over. And I was like, is that it? Is this what we've been building to for 2 books, and now it's just over within a chapter in the blink of an eye? And then the final 200 pages are too quick. You've got to this point in the book, in the story, and suddenly everything's happening like this. And I would have liked a bit more of an explanation of everything going on in those pages. And I was very disappointed in the end. And I believe I knew going in that, and R.F. Kuang has said that the Poppy War and the series is influenced by real history and by the life of Mao. So I was expecting certain aspects of this, and it didn't deliver the way I expected it to. I was like, okay, we're following like a fictionalization of Mao, and it just wasn't. Okay, the characterization. There was just the main character Rin, and all of the other characters lost their personality. You didn't have any insight into why they were making decisions, or why they were just so flaky, and how one chapter they were doing one thing and one thing they were doing another, and there was no reasoning why. And it's not because it's all told in Rin's perspective. You couldn't see into their heads and see why they were making these decisions and understand what was influencing them, and it just didn't make any sense. That there weren't any other secondary characters, there was just no one around, so you couldn't form attachments to anyone. I can see people arguing and saying that Rin is unlikable, and so this is just the natural course of events for the series, and I was like, I get that she's unlikable, and I was happy following her as an unlikable protagonist in the Poppy War and the Dragon Republic, so I don't think it's necessarily that I'm not liking in The Burning God. And I think it was the way the plot progressed. So anyway, those were my 10 not necessarily worst, but my most disappointing books of 2020. And yes, a lot of these I can see their merits, but they just seriously disappointed me, and I just expected to love them so much. They just made me sad and angry, and like I just wanted to throw so many of these books like away and against the. I was just angry with them. I was angry with these books because they made me so sad and disappointed. I hope that you love these books, and I hope they worked for you, but they weren't the ones for me this year. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in my future videos. Bye!